So what is it to speak injuriously? It is to disregard that. It is to negate that. It is to speak. It is to speak as if to say that wondrous cluster of constellation, that impossibly complicated arrangement of meaning, hope, imagination, vision, dream, idea, concept, failing, that is nothing. To speak as if that is nothing. To speak as if that is something that we have already compassed in its entirety. Because it is such a diminutive thing, this other person, that we can know it in its fullness, in its entirety, even when we know full well that we do not know ourselves in our entirety. To speak as if that is beneath our regard. To look to our own inner complexity and say, this supersedes that. This supersedes you. That supersedes me. I mean, after all, the expressions of your complexity that are available to me are very simple. My apprehension of you is far less complicated than my apprehension of myself. There's far less data to take into consideration. The data is much less varied. That multitude of calculations, selections, choices, artistic expressions, aesthetic appeals that you made the moment before you spoke, to pare down all of that wondrous complexity, to decide what words you would actually say. To disregard that is injurious. And here's the beauty of it. Mutually so. Again, I regard humanity as a necessarily inclusive concept. I cannot regard myself as complex, as worthy of regard, as perhaps invested with meaning, and to deny that of you. In order to consider my own thoughts to be worthy of consideration, I have to believe that the same is true of you. Both those thoughts expressed and unexpressed. And further, in recognition of that complexity, I must regard that however fully I see you, I am seeing an infinitesimal fragment. And an infinitesimal fragment that I did not extract. I did not discover. I did not gain this meager insight into your person, your character, through some laborious exertions on my part. I do not understand you through my power, through my apprehension, through my capabilities. No, it was given. Whether intended or otherwise, whether consciously or otherwise, whether selected or otherwise. Those insights which I have into you or you have into me are given. For me to regard you as any less than me, as any more than me, because, make no mistake, often our descriptions of things greater than ourselves is also a means of simplification. When we describe the Titans, when we describe epic, mythic characters, we describe characters that are simpler, and in terms of complexity, in terms of variety, in terms of the differentiation and the space contained within them, they are less than us. So, when I describe you as lesser or greater than myself, I am cutting you out. I am cutting you out of humanity. I am cutting you out of that body of consciousness for which I have natural affections, for which I have perhaps natural obligations. I am cutting you out. And in so doing, I am destroying the whole. So, in my view, to cause offense carries with it an obligation, a responsibility. When one causes offense, one is responsible for redressing that. And the means of so doing is to describe what one was actually assaulting, what one was actually assailing. And as we do so, as we carry through with that description, also describing that the relation between that which we attack and the person that we have offended is perhaps not so close as the offended party believes. That when we attack the idea, we do not do so to attack the person. This is not some sort of tactical misdirection, but rather very clearly that the idea itself must be addressed, perhaps brutally. But the person who holds that idea, gently. And, if we view it as true in this instance, perhaps to clarify that we attack the idea, not to harm the person who holds it closely, but maybe because we view that idea as harmful to that person. I am often very clumsy. But when I crush someone's toes beneath my boot, it is not because I wish to crush their toes, but because I am clumsy. Because I am clumsy, and I saw a scorpion on their feet. When we have done injury to a person, so too does this also impart responsibility. So too does this also require us to redress what we have done, and in a way quite different from offense. Unlike offense, which is by virtue of the arrangement of the actors and objects in the event which caused this offense. In offense, we cannot address offense directly. We cannot redress the offense, simply because it is not within our power to do so. The arrangement of these things prevents it. However, in the case of injury, as I have described here, the power of direct redress is within our grasp. The most immediate way in which we can tend to the injury caused by negating someone's complexity, by denying the wondrousness that is innate to any conscious mind, any communicative mind. The way we can redress carving someone out of the position innate to them, innate to the fact that they are communicative, that they are conscious, that by virtue of these things they contain this impossible arrangement of sympathies and contradictions. The way we can redress this shutting out of a person is to simply ask them back in.